Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new now, and welcome to our new series, Phantom Dance, Escaping Shared Fate. It's going to be a multiple part series, shorter videos, to give everyone a chance to absorb what gets shared in each of these parts and move forward and give you the ability to share notes and ask questions and make comments, which can help to influence the future parts of this particular video. So let's first look at Phantom and Dance. Now, phantom is an interesting word, right? It denotes something that's there and not there, an illusion of the mind. It appears and doesn't appear. It could be something that's a mirage, an illusion, kind of scary. An interesting definition I read just recently is a model of a human body or body part. So a model, something that's there and not there at all. So phantom, something that appears real, something that might be only in the mind, something that's an illusion, something that might not be honest in that it's not exactly what it appears to be, and mostly and most importantly, something that exists perhaps only for you, only for the observer, only for someone that's looking at something and not for anyone else. And so they say that's just a phantom. That's not something that's real. Another way of seeing it could be a mirage or an illusion. So you put all that together and then you add dance. Now, everyone knows what a dance is, but a poetic way of looking at a dance is you can be dancing through life. You could be dancing around a specific topic. Don't dance around, get to the point already. You could be dancing around your desires, dancing around your destiny, or you could just be dancing, meaning enjoying life, having fun, dancing through your existence. She danced through the day, meaning, you don't take anything serious. You're light, you're hearing music, you're following a melody, even if it's just a melody of yourself or the melody of existence or the melody of infinity. Okay. So escaping shared fate. So what is fate? For me, from what I've seen, fate is simply where you end up going by the actions you choose. It's not something that's predetermined, I don't feel, although it could be. I'm not in contact with everyone that's alive or has ever been alive, so I'm not sure how they feel their fate is. Sometimes I feel like no matter what I do, I end up in a certain place or a certain way simply because of what my life has shared with me to this point. Mostly, I think our fate could be determined, if you like, by who you are and what you are and how you are. And obviously, that's heavily influenced by our parents, where we're born, how we're born, how they raise us, what they share, whether it's a religion or a belief, or even just how their actions influence us throughout our formative or our young years. And going even further back then, in my estimation, and this is just a guess, but it's an educated guess for me, I still strongly feel we choose our parents. So in some ways, before we get here, you could say you help guide your own fate, you help decide your fate by choosing your parents and seeing what kind of good points and bad points you're going to inherit through being born into a certain family. I still strongly feel we decide on some warps or bends or distortions in reality that we get to fix. So we get to inherit our parents' challenges, our parents' fears, our parents' lack of full understanding for the potential in our destiny, in our fate. And we can either follow along like most people do, or many people do, is in that if your parents are a certain way, you become a certain way, and then you pass it along to any kids you may or may not have. Or as I've done, and some close friends and other cohorts have also done, you take what your parents have shown you and you heal it. You turn it around, you look at something that seems not so loving, and you move it along. So escaping shared fate. Shared, what does that mean? Well, you could be sharing the fate, let's say, of a country if you live there when they go to war. You could be sharing the fate of a family member if something bad happens to them and you're in the same room. You could be sharing the fate of a friend, like let's say they drink too much, as an example, and so you stay friends with someone that drinks too much, even though you don't want to drink so much, and you keep going out with them, and you keep drinking so much, and then you both inherit the same challenges. Let's say your body gets sick from too much drink, or you can be sharing with friends that eat too much. I'm putting my hand up because when I was younger, I used to share with friends that ate too much. When I got older, I would share with friends that drank too much. Later on in my life, maybe share with friends that are angry too much. And, even not so long ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, share with people that are too afraid to put down their current life and to pick up a new one because they're comfortable. Even though they're comfortable in their illusions, let's say they're comfortable in their pain, they're comfortable in their delusions, or they're comfortable in, I've heard so many people say, well, my life, it's not so good, but it could be worse, right? I really would like to do something different, but I'm afraid for my money, my job, my friends, my wife, my children, my siblings, my parents, doesn't really matter. So you hold on to them and then you share their fate. Like, let's say you got married when you were 22, as an example. When you were 22, maybe you had different ideas and different ideals and different ways you wanted to be alive than when you're 42 or 52 or 62. So you grab that person, whether it's a man or a woman, doesn't really matter. You got married, maybe you had kids, maybe you didn't. And then you make choices together, or you don't, as some people do. But in the end, you probably do because you're living in the same house, probably. And so your fate is going to be the same. And that if you eat the same food together, or you live in the same country together, or you make the same choices together, or you make the same choices of not making choices together, meaning moving, you decide to stayed in one spot, then you're going to share their fate. If they're going to a sick state of delusion and death and unhappiness, that's the fate you're going to share by making the same choices with them. Phantoms. So you can see from that, these choices you're making are illusions, in that even if you're married, you go, well, I'm married for, I've heard some people say, well, it's too late to change horses now. One fellow, very famous YouTube guy, that's what he told me. Doesn't sound very loving to me, right? It sounds like he's stuck, but he's afraid to move. It was a man that said that to me about his wife. Too late. That's the phantom. It's never too late to make a change. Too late to change horses. You have your reasons that you won't, let's say, leave a relationship. You have your reasons that you won't leave a job. You have your reasons that you won't say the truth to your friends or your cohorts or your siblings. Doesn't matter. Therein lies the phantoms, because you have an idea that money means this, marriage means that, what I am to my parents means this, they need me, she needs me, he needs me. Therein lies the illusions, the desires, the body of the model, meaning you never really know what's coming next after you make a new choice for yourself. If the unknown is next and you want to change your fate, you have to change your actions. Obviously, the oldest definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Now, I've lived there for decades. I kept changing a hat and thinking that made me different, or changing my shoes and thinking that made me different, or changing my job and thinking that made me different, changing your geographical location. And none of these things really make anything different. That's the phantom and that's the illusion. Whether you're sitting in a house in one country or you're sitting in a house in another country, the outside could change, the food could change, the weather could change, maybe your neighbors kind of change. But I've also found if you have challenges with neighbors in one spot, you go, oh my goodness, those people are, fill in your own, negative judgments on them. And then you leave because it's their fault somehow that you're having too much noise, too many bad smells, for whatever reason, you're not enjoying the people living around you, and you go somewhere else. For me, I've seen you get the exact same circumstances with a different face. If you change a relationship and you don't change yourself and you go into a new one, you're going to end up exactly the same. I've talked with people and I've seen people that have been married 3, 4, 5 times, had a dozen relationships, and they never changed their core, their inside. They want to change their outside. So literally, they're doing the bad, negative, inverted dance of the phantom, meaning the illusion is what they're seeing on the outside. The model of their life is what they're seeing on the outside. And they're not changing the core, who they are, the original source of life, the original source of light, the original source of what they want to make, the original source of what keeps telling them through their outside phantom dance, their mirror, that they need to change something. As an example, you're in a relationship, someone is selfish, so you leave them. And then you'll find the next one is also selfish, maybe the same, maybe slightly different, but also selfish, and so on down the line. So if you want to escape that fate, you look at the person, you look at the job, you look at the country, you look at where you are, and you tell yourself, or you share with yourself, the truth, the honest, hard, sometimes stinky, sometimes disgusting expose, stand naked, and see where things are for real. I don't like this for this, and this reason. As soon as you hear yourself telling, but I'm afraid, it's those fears that you stop and you look at, because those are the illusions, right? I'm afraid I need to keep this job because I'm paying these bills. You could change that if you wanted to. I'm afraid to leave this relationship because I'll be lonely. Doesn't matter. You can change that if you want to. Whatever it is, if you have a habit, whether it's too much sugar, too much alcohol, too many, fatty desserts, too much pasta, and your body needs to get into shape, you have to change. It doesn't matter whether you're 22 or 82. I've seen people grab their life by the short hairs and make a change. And if it's not easy, doesn't matter. Keep trying. Eventually, things will work. Your body, your life, your desires are always talking to you. As an example, I had foot pain for about 3 months, right? And I didn't know what was going on. And then I would sit and meditate, and my life said, well, you haven't changed your life enough. You're walking quite metaphorically in the same way you've walked for a long time, and your body doesn't want to go there anymore. So you have to make this huge change in your life. I'll talk about it another time. And of course, for my many reasons, I'd been in a way for a long time. I didn't want to make a change. It made me crazy for 3 or 4 or 5 days. I literally didn't sleep. But then I decided, whatever, time to make the change. Doesn't matter money, doesn't matter my physical comfort, doesn't matter the circumstances I've had, doesn't matter what people are telling me, doesn't matter all the illusions of losing whatever it is I've gained to this point in my life. I have to make that change. 1 or 2 days later, I started sleeping well. My foot doesn't hurt anymore. Things moved in such a way as that I'm moving towards a different reality for myself that I'm not sure about yet, but feels good. So how do you dance with your phantoms? How do you escape your fate? I think the first step, since this is going to be a multiple part video, is you start to see the difference between what your mind, which is where phantoms exist, is sharing with you, and what other parts of you are telling you. Some people say your heart, that's fine. Your intuition, your guts, your higher self, your double, whatever you want, or however you want, your I Ching, your tarot cards. So many people use these outside sources for a reason. They use outside sources to inform them of what's going on the inside, because the inside sometimes, often, almost always, I've found and find still, is sharing delusions and illusions with you. So if you hear that screaming between your ears that says you can't, you shouldn't, you mustn't, you're afraid, fill in your own reasons. Those are the ones you write down, you meditate on, you work with, you chew through, whatever it takes for you, you do some studies on, and you look to change them one at a time. Do you want to share the fate of the people around you? Do you want to share the fate of your country if you don't like where it's going? Do you want to share the fate of your cohorts if you don't like where they're going? I used to be in the financial world many, many years ago, and I hated the people around me. I didn't like what they were doing. I didn't like how they looked when they got older. I didn't like how they were getting sick. I didn't like the look in their eyes. I didn't like the unkind gestures, actions, and ways they move through life. And I said, do I want to, 20, 30 years from now, be like them? One fellow I knew died of brain cancer. One fellow I knew got, strangely fat. One fellow I knew was super unhappy. One fellow I knew had a stroke and was blind. And this is just from 5 or 6 years of being in the financial industry where, I grew up in Toronto. And I said, I don't want to share their fate. I don't want to be left with a lot of money, but 10 million regrets. I don't want to share the fate of someone holding on to whatever little bit of monetary advancements they've had and, hurt themselves, get an ulcer, whatever. I didn't want to share their fate. So I started dancing. I had to give up a huge salary. I had to give up a comfortable living. I decided I gave up everything I had at the time: house, home, car, motorcycle, relationship, monetary security, even a job that was coming that was going to supposedly pay me stupid amounts of money. And I dropped it. Was it easy? No, I spent decades fighting myself after that, decades going back and forth, decades dancing with my phantoms, decades figuring out what I wanted to do in relation to what I didn't want to do and what my heart was telling me in relation to what my head was telling me. So I did that dance simply because I didn't want to share the fate of those people around me. So be honest with yourself. Next time you go to work, next time you wake up in the morning, next time you see your friends, next time you go out on the weekend, next time you're even sitting by yourself, look around your life, see how it is. Don't lie to yourself. That's the way it is. Nothing you can do. Everyone's the same. It's not true for you. No one's the same as you. You can have shared actions. You can have shared habits. You can have a shared reality because you chose to act in the same way as the herd mentality, but it doesn't mean you have to continue that way. If a herd is going off a cliff, as my father used to say, if someone jumped in the river, do you want to follow them over the cliff? No. Probably if you're sitting there in an intelligent moment, you're going to go, I don't want to share the fate of the herd that's going over the cliff. I don't want to share the fate of the herd that's going towards cancer. I don't want to share the fate of the people that are getting too fat. They can't walk, properly later in their life. I don't want to share the fate of people that eat too much bad food. I don't want to share the fate of people that decide they're going to take certain medical insertments, let's say, if you like, because you look and you can see, and if you're honest, you can tell where they went and how they're going. And if you don't want to share that fate, then don't. But it's not through words. It's impossible to change your life through words. You have to do the actions. So, number one, phantom dance, escaping shared fate. Be honest with yourself. See where you are. Write it down. Meditate on it. Look around if you can't tell. And if you're not happy with 1 or 252 reasons in your life, check out the people around you. Check out the circumstances around you. Check out your living conditions. Check out your eating habits. Check out your exercise habits. Check out your spiritual, I hate the word spiritual, but let's say your energetic resources. If you're tired all the time, if you're unhappy, if you're sad, and the people around you are similar, do you want to share that fate forever? Is that where you want to go? Because I strongly feel it's up to us what we do. It's up to us where we put our attention. We can decide where we need to go by acting different than we have before. Is it easy? Not at all. It'll be one of the hardest things. It might be the hardest thing you've ever done. But like I've heard and like I've seen, the only harder thing is not doing it. That's how hard changing your fate is. That's how hard seeing where you need to go new is. That's how hard it might be to leave a relationship, to leave a job, to leave a country, to leave your siblings, to leave your children if you have them. Fill in your own blanks, the hard of what you need to do. But if you are honestly not happy, if you are honestly not 100% satisfied with something in your life or many things in your life or everything in your life, the only person that can change you is you. Look around. You can be influenced by millions. You can read a book. You can watch a movie. You can watch a video. Someone can give you a pep talk. You can be inspired in a million different ways. But that's not enough. It's not enough to watch a movie and go, I feel better, I'm done. Or to watch a video, I feel better than I'm done. Or even to talk with someone, or to have a drink, or to smoke a joint, whatever. If it gives you a moment's pause, anything can be okay. But come the next day, you have to change your actions, no matter how hard it is, if you want to change your fate. So escaping shared fate, look around, see where people are going, notice what's going on, notice the phantoms, the illusions, the transparency. It's really, really interesting. A model of a human body or a human body part. I didn't know that was a definition until I looked it up this morning. So these are models for you, right? The model of a life, the model of a country, the model of a body, the model of an experience. And if you don't like that model, if you don't like what it's showing you, if you don't like that phantom, change your actions. You'd be surprised, as I've been, how the world will help you, how the world will share. And you can't pretend. You can't go 99% somewhere new. It has to be 100. There you go. I'm Lorenzo. Thank you for being here. Phantom Dance, Escaping Shared Fate. This is part 1. I'm looking to do maybe up to 6 parts. So come back, like, subscribe, comment below. All intelligent participations are welcome. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you so much for being here.